The Last Full Measure was written and directed by Todd Robinson and has an all-star cast including Sebastian Stan, Christopher Plummer, William Hurt, Edward Harris, Samuel L. Jackson, and Peter Fonda in his last film role that he played before his passing back in the most recent August. The Last Full Measure tells the story of a Pentagon staffer who investigates a Medal of Honor request for a deceased pararescueman from the Vietnam War, and as he learns more about these courageous acts, he also uncovers a decades-long conspiracy that kept the subject of the investigation from posthumously receiving the award. I had no idea that this film existed until I came to Korea, and it's because of this. The first movie I saw when I came here was Jumanji: The Next Level. And at the theater on base, instead of showing trailers after the show's start time, they instead mix them into the pre-show, and the movie basically starts on time instead of half an hour after the posted time. And if you've been to an AMC theater recently, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, so the first two trailers that would always show up for the first few movies that I saw here were the first trailer for Dolittle and the trailer for this film, so I was kind of surprised. The first time the first time that I saw this trailer, I wasn't really paying attention to it, only enough to think that it looked like a well-made and well-acted documentary, the kind that you would see in a theater for, like, a military museum, like the IMAX at the Fort Benning Army Infantry Museum. And speaking of which, if any of you ever get the chance to go to that museum, you honestly should. It's been about 6 or 7 years since I've been, but it's an impressive and ginormous museum, and I think it's one of the most technologically advanced museums in the US, or at least it was back then. It used a lot of image mapping technology that I had only seen prior at a Disney park, so it impressed the hell out of me. Anyway, diverging from my rambling, after seeing it a couple more times in the theaters, I started realizing who all was in it, and I was confused as to why I hadn't heard anything about it, because that's not a cast that you can easily dismiss with all of these veterans that that most people know the names of. I mean, but at the same time, the trailer made it look like a standard Oscar bait film that doesn't try too much other than just tell a story and fits all those beats that you'd expect from a true story conspiracy movie where all of the characters say things similar to "you have no idea what you're getting into," and you know, one of those ones that will either be good or bad but feel so familiar that maybe the casual moviegoer won't even remember that it existed by the time it has come and gone from theaters, but that maybe those who try to see every single movie, or those who are suckers for based on true story movies actually go see. I don't know, it kind of gave me the same vibe that Dark Waters did with Mark Ruffalo, a movie that I still haven't seen, because I just looked at that trailer and it was kind of boring and it felt just the same bullshit, and yet I heard that the movie was actually pretty good, so I don't know, maybe this movie is the same way. Let me think, what else? I know that when I got out of my showing a couple of days ago for the rhythm section, I went to the bathroom, and an Army retiree, you can always tell who they are because they always wear that hat that says that they are a retiree, and I can say that because my dad is that cliche veteran. He's always wearing an Army retiree baseball cap. But anyway, the retiree asked me what I thought about that movie, about Rhythm Section, and afterwards he asked if I was going to see this one, like a couple of days after, and I said probably not, to which he responded in a polite way, of course. There are some who would say this exact same line and be a little bit more rude and pretentious, but he wasn't. He said, you should, it's part of your heritage, and this is in regards to the fact that I am in the Air Force, and the film is centered around a PJ, or what you guys who aren't in the military would call a U.S. Air Force pararescueman, and me saying this in a casual way that, you know, I probably wasn't gonna go and, you know, just everything, just saying this in a casual way and not showing much interest in the film does not mean that I'm unpatriotic or that I don't care about what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. I'm just a bit more conservative when it comes to showing off the things of who I am on a day-to-day basis and whatnot. But anyway, getting all that out of the way, I just, I figured, hey, I'm going to see Gretel and Hansel right after this movie, so I might as well see this as well. So, yeah, that's where I am with the film right before I go in to see it. Now, before I head out to go see this movie in the theater, I want to throw out my normal disclaimer for those of the uninitiated so that when I get back to the actual review in this video, you'll have a better understanding of the format that I'm using, just in case. The way that I convey my thoughts in my videos is I do a pro and con list. It helps me best catalog what I think is the good and the bad in a film. And while I try to keep the sections separate, if I can make a pro and con work off of each other, or maybe if they're intrinsically tied together, I will definitely take advantage of that. Anyway, there's your disclaimer, and I will see you guys again when I get back from seeing The Last Full Measure.
One came. His name is Pitts.
Pitts saved lives. We put him up for the Medal of Honor.
But he never got the medal.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
You had no idea where you're starting.
I have never seen you back off of anything.
Usually we're judged by what we do. But what we don't do is what haunts us.
I'm gonna go public with the story.
Sounds a little dangerous.
But it'll be great television.
Give praise as this young man and show us that the sacrifices of the fallen will never be forgotten.
I must say that most everything about this film was very middle of the road. Not great, but not horrible. But, nothing that I can really put into a pro or a con. But the fuck? Nothing. These aren't things that I can just put into pros and cons, so I can just leave these about. Of course, there are some things that I can go more into that it wouldn't be satisfactory if I just simply said meh. For instance, if there are any positives that I can give about this movie, it's for the performance of the veteran cast, pun intended. Plummer, Jackson, Harris, Hurt, and especially Fonda give outstanding performances, knocking their roles out of the park, and it honestly made the fact that this was Fonda's final film role that much more meaningful. He ended on a high note, and Sebastian Stan himself gives a good performance, but sadly he's more than outshined by his supporting co-stars, many of these people who have won Oscars or have been nominated multiple times for Oscars. But getting into the more negative parts about the movie, this film is your standard patriotic American fare, full-throated, misty-eyed celebration of heroism that will make anybody hold back tears and make your throat sore from continuously swallowing just to keep holding back the crying noises so that the people around you don't hear you being a little bitch. Okay, I'm being a little harsh on that. Believe me, I can easily cry during movies. I'm like Adam Driver's character Charlie in Marriage Story. I can easily cry in a movie. I'm just that was more of a self-deprecating joke than a direct insult to any of you guys who have the same issue, but believe me, I actually did that entire thing too. I was holding back tears and making it to where my entire throat was killing me for about an hour or so after the movie was done. And this con is not for that specifically, it's more for the fact that this mournfully themed movie does very little to accost a viewer's respect and admiration for the film's subject, whose entire life is just reduced to a single act of uncomplicated selflessness. I don't know why or where I came up with that word, but it just came out of my head right now, and I don't know, this single act, while important, should not be the sole focus. In respecting the reason why this airman deserves the, I don't know why I said it like that, but just in respecting the reason why this airman deserves a Medal of Honor, we ignore what else made him special and what was human about him, only really caring about him as a character simply because we know that he was a real-life person. The The movie has two settings. You have the, quote, present day, which is just basically 1999, and then you have the fateful day in 1966 Vietnam. The flashbacks feel like a slightly higher budgeted, second-rate Vietnam film that was shot for the Hallmark Channel, and present day leans a little too heavily on these lachrymose speeches from the veterans, or the veteran characters. And again, I said earlier that the performances are outstanding. They still are. But when there's an obvious pattern of start interview, interviewee starts talking, interviewee gets either remorseful or starts crying or both, and then every single interview after that is the same, it becomes dull, even if each time I'm wanting to cry too, and that's just further testament to the acting on display, but also strengthens the reasoning for why I thought this was a lesser aspect of the film. I didn't really have much to say about this film, so all in all, it wasn't a bad movie. So far, it's my favorite movie of 2020, but that's not saying much at all since we're in, you know, the dumpster fire that's normally called January. As far as movies are concerned, it's a nice little movie that was a bit of a change of pace for me, and it was nice to see some good actors giving good performances. Anyway, that's all for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this movie. Don't forget to hit that like button, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, farewell until the next video, all of you casual moviegoers and movie fans alike, and keep on being awesome.